அகமெனும் மூல அவித்யை அகண்டிட அகமகமாக அல்லும் பகலர அகமொழிர் ஆத்மதேவன் பதத்தில் அகழ்மகிழ்வாக அனிஷம் ரமிக்கவே. This is the invocatory verse by Bhagavan Ramana when he translated Vivek Chudamani of Shankaracharya. Rejoice eternally. The heart rejoices at the feet of the Lord, who is the self, shining within as I eternally, so that there is no alternation of day and night. This will result in the removal of the ignorance of the self.
You can listen to anyone, any Jnani, and he always talks about bliss, eternal happiness, contentment, which is our real nature. So the practice is also very simple. Anything which is not giving rise to peace, situation or the feeling or your thought or your identity, all that is false. You can reject it completely without even thinking again. This way, if you reject, what is left is you. Method is simple, method is direct. You can call it contemplation, you can call it practice. And it is very, very easy. Only obstacle is your partial interest in it. Or the only other obstacle is your interest in that egoistic life also. If our interest is there, then this freedom can never be achieved, whatever you do. Because this is all or none. You can't be both. It is like it is the same coin but different sides. When you flip, you only see one surface. I was explaining someone who had incessant number of thoughts leading to psych issues and cannot focus on anything. And she said when she goes for shopping, she has to put music in her ears because those thoughts are so intrusive and so many that she can't focus even to buy stuff. So she plays this heavy music in her head so those thoughts don't disturb. But when I sat and we said, okay, there are thoughts, but let's not focus on thoughts. Let's focus on silence, which is also always there. But our interest is in thoughts. That's why we always focus on these thoughts. Let's focus on silence now. Though you have never tasted silence, but even when you take the name of silence and you want to sit with silence and you want to focus on silence, you understand the meaning of silence, then silence start getting noticed. It is as easy as that. You don't have to be literate or PhD in it or read all the Sanskrit literature to understand that. And when our focus is on silence, then what is left is only silence. And when your interest is only silence all the time, then who is there who will tell you there are thoughts going in your mind and you're not paying attention? Tell me. When your all attention is on silence, whether the mind stays or mind goes away or there's a manonasha or whatever it is, who cares when you have zero interest in mind? Then who will notice? Who in you will notice that the mind is going on and thoughts are going on, but you are paying attention to silence? This duality lasts till we are slave of the mind. The moment you become king, the slavery of the mind ends. This slavery continues till you derive pleasure from this word, or you hate this word, in both ways. Connection. So this is a connection. Hate is also a connection, and your pleasure seeking is also a connection. But when you are unattached, disinterested, then this grip of the mind is gone. Because function of the mind is to get you something out of this world. And people are not after one thing, they are after hundreds of things at a given time. If our interest is in silence, then all what is left is silence, eternal silence all the time. And then you realize that in this silence, things still happen. Body moves, work is done without any doer, without even intention of doing. As if some force makes sure that work has been done in the way it has to be done. You know, we talk about listening to Bhagavan, that non-doership. In silence, you can't even think about this doership and non-doership because it just takes over everything. Yes, the drama of life and interaction with people and people with egoistic mind and you don't become stupid. You understand all these things. Maybe you understand now more. You can see people more transparently than they know themselves. But you are unconcerned. You have zero interest. Because you have moved out from that frequency. Now you don't want to interact. And even if you want to interact at that level, you don't have instrument to interact at that level. This is the other problem. Because this instrument is needed if you want to have a fight with someone or argument at ego level. You also need to have an ego. Without ego, how can you have that fight? When you are lost, you have already lost all arguments. Then you just come to that play disinterested. And this thing about ego in a person or level of interaction, amazing thing happens that when you interact from that pure awareness, even with ego, the other person really wants to interact with you, has to raise his or level to self. And that is why when you meet saint and sages, you feel peace, you have shanti, contentment. You can also have agitation of mind, because if you go with lot of ego, then you become very unsettled in that atmosphere, in that peace. Because peace is so boring to the mind. If you are interested in peace, then you will like it. But it's not everyone's cup of tea. Contemplation on this truth is the way to freedom. What meditation, what method? You can call it by any name. It doesn't matter. You can call self-inquiry or whatever. But the main thing is, from where we operate, we have to leave this space. We have to transcend. Then only real change occurs. Sitting as ego and practicing self-inquiry all your life is not going to achieve anything. You have to leave this place. You have to start a new life, newborn. You have to transcend this type of working. And I'll tell you, you should not find excuse that I'm working so I can't do that. It has nothing to do with your working. But yes, it has to do, I am working, I do, this doership, yes. That will be disappeared. That will go away. And that is the biggest risk. So ego never wants freedom. Because freedom is from the ego, not of the ego. The moment you are free, there is no ego, there is no doership, there is no individuality. And who has desires? Who has dreams? Who is the achiever? This body? Body has no clue. Or this pure self? Pure self is already contented, it has nothing to achieve. Then who is the one who is full of dreams? Or full of fear or anxiety or whatever? Or full of passion? Or the one who is seeking pleasure? Who is that? When we ask this question deep enough within us, this also takes us to silence. Because there is no one there. Only when we don't ask question deeply, we stay in this personhood. And we act and react. And from this level, we can only create problem. We can never be part of solution. We can only be part of problem, because ego is problem itself. And ego has so many excuses not to be free. Today someone asked me this question: if everyone is free of ego, then who will run the business in this world? Look how beautifully, how smartly ego puts this question. As if you are the prime minister of the country and you have to run the country, so it is very important that some people stay with ego. You know, if everyone is interested to be free, then this question could arise. Not even handful are interested. So don't worry. There are plenty left to run the show. Maya is like that. It has always an upper hand. Delusion is so strong. This is another sect. I don't know, maybe from Buddhism. Someone was telling me the other day that these Advaitic non-dual teachers and their seekers are so selfish. They are looking for their own liberation. In our sect, we make sure that everyone gets self-realized. Then we think about our self-realization. It is exactly like in your own dream, you want others to be out of dream, then you will finish your dream. How stupid this idea is. But this word is full of different ideas, and that's the beauty of it. Anyone can believe in any idea and try to work on it. What you are seeing is your own. The moment you are switched off, this word, whether it stays or not, who knows, but for you it is finished. Ellen has written something. It says, this is not a question. Contemplating the truth. Money is not love. Money used as if it's given as love. This is very freeing to me right now in the moment. Maya and ego working against my realization. So Ellen, you want to say money? Are we talking about money, or you wanted to say something else? You can unmute.
Okay, I did. No, I was just saying that it's been very confusing to me. My husband would give me money as if it is love, and money isn't love. And I found this a lot in the world, that we tend to think that if people give us money, and we equate money with being loved, and that has nothing to do with that. And it's really freeing to realize it has nothing to do with love. We are love. And money has zero to do with that love.
I think you are quite right. But still, I've seen people around, when their spouse is not happy, they give some gift, or they promise to give some gift, and it settles
Right.
things. Because the love, what we worldly people know, is more as a business, give and take. I give you a gift and you give me love. In a sense, what love means, I don't know. It is more of a business than love. It is a conditioned love, the way people deal with each other. I'll do something for you and you do something for me. There's no love in it. It's more of a business. So yeah, I think you are right. But here we are talking about an understanding which is beyond these money, and there are a lot of altruistic people, a lot of very minimalist who are not for money. But we are talking about the freedom from within. And that freedom we all can get if we are interested in it. And the good thing is, you don't have to do anything for that. Basically, you should stop doing something, When we stop doing something internally as a doer, that natural state is already there in all of us. Sometimes we realize, when some very big job or a task is just finished, because it has taken up all your mind and energy, and when it's done, there's a moment in which there's no other desire or things need to be accomplished, and you feel so contented and peaceful. But that's what the self is. Self is always the same. That contentment can come to you. That liberating sense comes to you when you know that you are not doing anything. But it is not just, I want to warn you, it is not just thinking that I am not doing anything and doing all the stupid stuff and disturbing your neighbors and creating all the drama in the world. It doesn't work like that. When you know I am not doing anything, the peace percolates and no action happens through the body, which is disturbing even to the tiniest species in this world. Because you don't want to disturb. You are so contented that whatever it is, it is. You are not a reformer, and you don't want to correct anything, and you don't see any deficiency in anything. You're not analyzing, criticizing, liking, disliking. All these faculties are of mind. They all come into play when there is a individual doer who feels separate from rest of the world. And how paradox it is. It is the mind which is creating this whole world. The moment the mind shuts up, this world disappears for you, as in your deep sleep. And when it starts playing, then you see you as a body, and then people around you and a situation. Exactly like dream. In spite of this worldly dream, a body and the word and people, you can still realize that self. By giving away this ego. And this is what all spirituality is about, whatever we do. And the best is to keep quiet and stay in that silence, that blissful silence within you. Focus on that silence rather than thoughts. What prompts you to do this work and then next work and that work and always busy and under the pump? Only thoughts. When there is no thought, then how the body performs. See that magic. Then you become a devotee of that Supreme, because now you know that I was not controlling the body. There was somewhere else was the control. That intuitiveness, that power comes to you. It is just like, video games. I remember as a kid, we used to have those big video games, big boxes used to play. And you win bonus points, and then the game extends, and the game continues. But at the end, the game finishes. So you have a very limited control even in that game. And we think we have control, but whatever you do, the game finishes. Maybe it extends a little bit more, but eventually you are not in whole control of things. Same is our life, We think we are in control, and that is the cause of all misery and suffering. Because we think, I have to do this, and if it doesn't happen, then I feel bad. And then if it happens, then I feel proud of it, and then ego gets bigger that I'm a doer and I'm an achiever and I've done all this. or I get addicted to that doing, whatever it is. In both ways, it's a trap. So many sages, they stop doing anything. I received an email today from a seeker, and that email was very touching, actually, I should say. And I can read it. This email came from Bridget, and she wrote, "Is she here in this group, Bridget?" I can't see her here, but anyway. So she has written, "Dear all," maybe she wanted me to read for everyone. "Dear all, years ago, as a childless woman and without a job, my husband and I moved abroad. It soon became clear that the traditional division of roles worked best for us in this new living situation. I stayed home and my husband went to work. After a few years, I wanted to take my dog for a walk through the woods. On the way to the forest, I passed the house of my neighbor, who was talking to a new villager at that moment. The new resident asked me, 'What are you going to do?' To which my neighbor said, that one doesn't do anything at all." I was stunned with the venom with which this remark hung in the air. Now that I listen to your satsangs and do read in the book Talks with Sri Ramana, I understand why I came here, why I do nothing. What once felt like an insult now feels like a blessing. I understand for the first time that I don't have to do anything to be happy, to be at peace, to be quiet inside. Stay warm and still and happy, Bridget. How beautiful it is, How beautiful it is. Because this word, what you call as word of people, it only respect and regard people who are achievers, performers, doers. They get medals. But they don't get bliss. And they don't get rid of ego. So it is your choice what you want to do. And sometimes, what we think as curse is a blessing. This lady has pointed out so beautifully. I'm not saying that what you're doing is wrong. Just keep doing, but don't attach your ego to it. Whatever work you're doing, watch it, and your watching it will make it disappear. That is the truth about it. Because it is just like a thought which we have created. Or you can call it as the first thought, I thought. I am this body mind. And we have never challenged it. But when we challenge it, and challenge doesn't mean that you have to fight, just look within. Just observe. Observe day to day how you talk to your parents, wife, husband, kids, family, friends, neighbors, employee, employer, how that interaction happens, what you think, how the thought process comes. If you start observing, then you can understand this game of ego, which is creating all the problem. So all the problem is within, not outside. And this is the way ego survives. It always blames others or situation or people. It is very suffocating area. And this is the bondage. The moment you leave this place, you become eternal. You are eternal. And you become free from the body and mind complex and its doings or non-doings. And you enter into this eternal silence where the mind has no reach. I can't say mind stays or goes away, but mind has no reach. Even if a thought comes, it does not stick to you. This power of self is so strong that mind has no power on you now. This internal work, abiding in heart, continues when you are interested in it, and it becomes deeper and deeper. And then because it is natural, then the practice drops. When you touch your silence, this is the time after which you have no interest in any gossip, anyone's personal life. Because your interest in others' personal life is when you have interest in your own personal life. Because when person is not left, there is no personal life left. Sometimes you can meet old friends and people and they try to drag you with all those memories. You can still laugh or can say no, yes or no, but they're talking to someone who is no more there. But it is very hard. You can't say like this, otherwise they think you need to see a psychiatrist. But you know within there is no one there who is interested in all that. Even that body in ego might have done all the stupid things, but self still does not own anything. It is like in your dream. Do you take responsibility of things happened in your dream? Once you are out of dream, you stop ownership of all what story of this body was going on. So it becomes more like a lucid dream. Your body is going, things are happening. And I believe that life changes with that energy, with that self. It becomes more peaceful. Not just for you, but for people around you as well. I call it power of silence. It is so powerful. How do you choose your friends or people? Only your interest. And then you get a company of people which you call like-minded. Just like this company of satsang, people who are no-minded. So from no-minded you become empty-minded. You inherit this silence within because of your interest only, nothing else. Grace is what? Grace is your interest, and then your interest, we call it grace. We call it grace because there is no ego which is doing or bringing. Otherwise, we could have said that, look, I have done it. But that I has disappeared, so we call it grace. It is as simple as that. And the grace of whom? Grace of self. On whom? To self. Only self can put grace to self. And self can realize self. So where is duality in it? No duality. Our mind, which is always creating noise, when it gets addicted to this silence, it disappears. And it disappears because you are into that. You are that. You're not giving any task to the mind. When you don't give any task, what happens? It becomes a vestigial organ, like your appendix, of no use. So it just disappears or merges. Stay as an uninvolved witness in whatever your interactions in this world. Don't be partial. Don't support this body or other body. Just be impartial. Just see how the interactions occurs. Then you will start understanding that all the conflicts are ego-born. They are all useless. Whether you create or others create. Everyone creates. And then the collective ego creates wars and conflicts at a bigger level. I would say if on our own level, if we become free from our own individuality, it is a very, very big help to the mankind. Because you have made a hole in Maya and you have put the energy of peace in the atmosphere. Even hundreds of charity work will not bring that peace. What an egoless being can bring. It's not that intentionally an egoless being wants to bring peace to the world. It just happens. Because that pure energy also wants to manifest in this world. It is also looking for an opening through all of us. And because of that, it is arranging the satsang or meeting and allowing us to imbibe that knowledge, that truth, and manifest So before the end of your body, you blossom in a complete whatever it has to, rather than staying in that cage. Don't think that that absolute, or if you want to call it God, has a sabotage against. No, no, it wants to help you. It is always there to help you. It always wants your liberation. Even when we are suffering or we are enjoying or whatever what we are doing, it wants us to be out of this bondage. And whole world, everyone is there to help us. People talk about quality of work. In self, you get that pure gold quality of things. It's not that you start doing big inventions or whatever, the movement of the body, everything becomes graceful. As we know, no work is big or small, and no work is best than any work also. Bhagwan never did anything. What work he did was he used to help in the kitchen in initial days. Then he found that people want to do things in their own way, even in kitchen. So he stopped going to kitchen. And in kitchen also he was giving beautiful satsang. If you read Bhagwan's teachings, the most important teaching for all of us, because we are all doers and we are achievers and Ratsik quality, he has written very clearly, action is bondage. And that's the end of the story. And then these karma yogis, then they argue. They will say, do karma yoga, nishkam karma, without ego. If you are without ego, then there's no issue left. All our practice is to get rid of that ego. Once ego is gone, yes, then it becomes a nishkam karma, but not before that, isn't it? So to be without ego is what you have to do, that at least. You have to be there at least. Then whatever work happens then becomes. But full of ego when you are doing things, how it can be karma yoga? Bhagwan is very clear. He said all actions are bondage. Finished. Story is finished. He has silenced all karma yogis, so-called karma yogis. They are not karma yogis, they are karma bhogis only. Anything done with ego, any karma is bhoga only. How can it be a yoga? If any action is done without doership, then it is only yoga. The moment you start doing actions without doership, in that state of awareness, you become very humble, because you realize that things are happening on its own. Everything works so perfectly, as if there is a beautiful energy behind everything, and you were actually an obstacle as an ego in all the works what you were doing before. Make this, what I'm saying, your own experience, and then you will understand. Sometimes people come and they say, thank you, you have done so good. And I'll tell you, a jnani has no clue why these people are saying. It looks like someone has told them to say thank you and I've not done anything. It is exactly like that. While in ego, we are always looking for praise, or if someone says good about us, that's what the ego loves. And ego knows everything. And I'll tell you, Jnani knows nothing. Just the name is Jnani because he knows all this relative knowledge is only nothing but in the part of dream. Awakening from this dream is the real awakening. And then the moment you get awakened, you realize that it's all coming from you only. Abiding in pure awareness, ownership of the body is first to go. The body looks like a third person, as a separate entity, as if other bodies are. Lot of sages, you will see they always call that this body went there, this body did this body will go, or they call themselves by their name. It is not that they are just making it, but they are very genuine, they are real, they are telling what they are experiencing. They call themselves by their name. Because they call themselves not, they call their body by the name. They themselves have no name. But still they have to call something this body because everyone is identified by a body. Bhagavan never gave himself a name. He never told his name, and then they found name and they kept changing his names. Finally, Bhagavan Shri Ramana Maharshi came later, Ganpati Muni called him Bhagavan. He was completely unconcerned about the body. He went so deep that he had no sensations of even if the body is eaten by insects. Days and weeks. He withdrew himself so much, so difficult for him even to speak after those years. If you make him your guru, how can you stay without realization? He is in all of us, in our heart, that pure self. Keep your attention there, always. And merge in Shiva, merge in that absolute. I had few emails in last couple of weeks, and almost all the emails had a similar language, and that was that since I'm abiding in this bliss, I'm feeling peace, silence. But then I have an issue, and the issue is that I'm drifting away with so many roles I was playing and achieving, and I'm scared that one day I will be aloof and I will not talk to anyone and I will lose all my money. You see those two paragraphs. The first one looks this person is in bliss, talking from self, and the next para is full of that egoistic desires and fears and apprehensions. Like one step here and the other here. This jump people don't take. They have no faith. Though they are getting all that, but they want this also. As if in God realization they will miss all their personal fame and wealth and all socialization. What is this? Nothing but selfishness. Selfishness, people think is a bad word, but selfishness means ego only, which only thinks about me, me, and me. What will happen to my money? What will happen to my friend circle? What will happen to this? Okay, I'll get God, but what about all these things which I'll lose? Who says that? And who thinks like that? And I feel, what should I answer? They have already answered in their email. It is very true that this stage comes in everyone's life when you are withdrawing, and then people can complain that you are withdrawing and you're not interested and you're losing and you're tracking. That's okay. But if you are complaining, then who can save you? That means you started on this journey, but in midway, you don't want to lose all these things because you're so attached. That's what it shows. You are so attached to all these things. That's why fear of losing them is compelling you to write this email. I ask all these fellow friends and seekers, what will they do when this body is dead? What will happen to all that attachment? For how long they can continue these attachments? And then what happens? Because your attachments and desires are unfulfilled, you get another body. And it continues and continues. It is a self-created trap. No one else to blame. People who are completely ignorant and not interested, I can understand. But the one who has come up to this level, now withdrawing because of fear of losing all these things. Please remember, one day you will lose all these things. 100%. If I am lying, tell me. When this body will be dead, you will lose everything. Then what will you do on that day? I don't know what part of the mind does not make you remember about death. If you remember death, you can be free this moment. We all live like we are eternal in this body, not in this body. So body's attachment gone, then you are eternal. When you interact with people, do they say, look, we are only here for a few days, or good night, probably tomorrow we might not meet, who knows, I might die at night. Nobody thinks like that. We are so attached to this word, nobody wants to leave. We are not prepared. Only a jnani is prepared. He has already left what the death will take away. He has already given up all that. So he is happy with or without body. Another very important method of liberation is if you remember death. That can also help. Remembering death is the death of mind. It will dissolve your mind. We give so much of importance to what we do. All these indispensable people are buried under the earth now. And the world is still going on without them. Then who are you? Always try to stay in that witness, as that pure awareness. During interactions, during movements, while sitting, standing, dreaming, or in deep sleep, or whatever, all this is happening within the frame of body-mind. But you are outside it, and you can only know that in your own silence. And you can know that silence only when you have nothing to do with mind. Satish Krishnan has written, die before you die. Yes. And I'll tell you, Satish, it is not just die before you die. You die a complete death before you die. Because death still leaves your mind intact. But this death, this ego death, finishes your mind also. So it is a more surgical operation than your death of the body. Death of the body doesn't finish the ego. But death of the ego finishes the whole game. So do this job properly while living in this body. Some people are after happiness, some people are after bliss, and some people are after freedom. But I'll tell you, knowing the self is the last freedom. Love this pure silence. This silence is God. This is peace. This is the eternal road to freedom. This road will take you to eternity. When you stay, this unfolds, the silence unfolds from within. When mind becomes a very distant sound, without any ownership of the mind. In spite of having all layers of the body, you are out of the body, in and out the same. This is the silence which percolates within and without. Once you identify within, you identify everywhere, in everything, as you. Only thing needed is your interest in this silence, this divine silence. And it has nothing to do with your speech or noise outside or whatever is happening. It is always there. Just be with that. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.